Being Rakim paid in full, but we are not. So I didn't get a chance to talk about this. I was trying to get my thoughts together. But the murderer of George Floyd was given 22 and a half years. A murder that we all saw play out in full display. It was a lynching in public sight. And as I watched the judge who was giving his sentencing, I knew immediately what happened by the detached way that he started the proceeding. He started by saying, I'm not gonna go on and on. You can read my judgment here. He said also, I'm not gonna be swayed by public opinion or emotion or sentiment. And I knew right then what would happen. Because to see a black person as a full human being, you would be motivated by maybe not public opinion, but certainly emotion. You get to detach from your emotional position, and you get to do it as a judge. You get to say, I'm not going to buy into this. I'm going to do what I think is right. Now, they have a mandatory sentencing guideline, and they have a max and they have a minimum. I guarantee you he's given black people the max before. I guarantee you he has. I guarantee you this, that if a black person in that same situation didn't even have to be an officer of the law, if it had been that heinous, he would have gotten the maximum and nobody would have said anything about it. Matter of fact, one of the reasons in the United States of America that they're trying to do something about mandatory sentencing is because too often biases give black people harsher and brown people harsher sentences. Men like that who take the emotion out of it, oh, well, it's not that bad. I could give you 22 and a half years. He could have done 30, 20. I don't want to do 15 because then I'll have to hear about it. This seems fair and all the scholars will be fine. I personally was not satisfied. I don't think we have in a position to be satisfied. We didn't see something we heard about. We watched a man be murdered in full view. That man who sat on that behind that bench saw witness after witness after witness. He watched police officers testify against police officers. He watched first offenders testify against police officers. He watched medical experts testify. He watched family members testify. And still there was no emotional attachment at all. I don't have to do it at all. In the end, when he was giving his, he watched the facts. He had no allegiance to any of that. And he got to do what he wanted to. He got to sit and say, this is only worth this to me. When is the last time George Floyd's life mattered? And if it mattered, a lot of times we're hearing the news, this is so deplorable, this is so heinous, it requires special circumstances. Wasn't that a special circumstance? Didn't we watch a man die in front of our eyes under the color of authority? Didn't we watch that? We watch time and time again. I watched Amber Geiger murder Botham Jean, and that judge gave her a Bible and a hug. A swimmer rapes a girl in public view, and he gets nothing. Because men and women who sit behind those benches get to detach themselves emotionally when it's somebody who's black or brown. And if it weren't that way, the judicial system would be trying to mitigate it. They wouldn't be trying to say, these judges are giving these people too harsh of sentences, and these people not enough. We got to do something about it. Men and women in those robes get to sit there. And isn't that what we want as a public? I guarantee you, if that man were emotionally invested, he'd have let us know it. He'd have said, you know what? This is so egregious to me. This is an affront to society. I'm weighing in on it. Even he would still have to, but he would give you the max because he or she would be personally in front. And they're not enough when it comes to our lives. And everybody's saying, well, that seems about right to you. Because it won't happen to your children or your sisters or your wives or your daughters. You get to sit there and say, okay, enough. That's cool. That's all right. It was in the what's norm. He could have given him 30 years just as easily, and not a legal scholar would have had a problem with it. But he didn't, because he was unemotional about it. And that emotion is attached to what he sees as viable. He gave more credence to the mother of a murderer than the daughter of a murdered man. And they get to do it over and over again. And I see expert after expert after expert. Seems about right. If it seemed about right, then we wouldn't have these disparities in sentencing guidelines. Etta James, a long time ago, had a song called At Last. We are singing a new one called At Least. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.